Tonight, some people might be feeling uneasy about shopping at a popular place in Virginia Beach.
Police say they have gotten several calls about a man who allegedly exposed himself to women at Landstown Commons Shopping Center.
Reporter Meghan Puryear talked to shop owners about safety concerns in that busy area.
At the Landstown Commons Shopping Center, shoppers spent the day searching for deals and navigating through parking lots to load up their purchases. But many didn't know there might be eyes on them. Police say a man has been exposing himself to women here.
I just kind of pray that he gets found.
Asia Huff is already planning her move if she becomes a target.
Call the police, actually, or like walk off.
Police say a man sits in the Landstown Commons parking lot and calls women over asking for directions. As they walk up, he exposes and touches himself.
We have a person who obviously needs help. All right, and is a threat to people, all right? That can only escalate over time.
Chuck Shelsby, owner of the Casual Pint, just heard about the flasher.
We, as a community, need to make sure that we are protecting everybody.
And says he wants to help anyone impacted.
I welcome anybody to come into my shop, all right, if they feel threatened, all right? And we will make sure you're safe. And we will make sure that it is handled in an efficient and quick manner.
He says this is critical to his own employees as well.
The girls, we will do something to make sure that they're comfortable and they're protected.
And he wants the suspect caught and out of the complex for good.
Report it immediately so that we as a community can also help the police department. Police cannot be everywhere, but police can get where they need to be very quickly if we make the effort.
We reached out to Virginia Beach Police for details on this suspect and his car and have yet to hear back. If you're impacted by this person, contact police immediately. In Virginia Beach, Meghan Puryear, 13 News Now.